What is going on, my fellow Masketeers? Welcome back to another episode of the Mask, and we are here to talk about the latest installment from DC, which is none other than the Batman. This can be looked at as a reboot of the character, and this time at the helm is Matt Reeves, and he has given us his version or his interpretation of the Cape Crusader. The film stars Robert Pattinson as billionaire Bruce Wayne / Batman, but in this movie we can just call him Vengeance. And yeah, let's get straight into this. Premise of the film is this: we follow Batman, who has been doing it for roughly 2 years, and he is working with the Gotham PD to try and solve a brutal murder that takes place on Halloween. And the mayor has been murdered, and the killer has left a whole bunch of cryptic clues all around the crime scene with a note actually addressed to the Batman. Now, Officer Gordon, at this point in time, uses Batman to kind of solve or help solve some tough cases. And that's the general theme of this movie. In this film, we are getting the detective side of Batman. One thing that not a lot of other previous films have done before, even with Nolan's run, Batman was never really the smartest man in the room. In this, they try to take him back to his roots where he's meant to be the world's greatest detective. Gordon uses Batman. Now, not everybody in police department is thrilled that Gordon is using a vigilante, but it is what it is, and he gets the job done. For the most part, they kind of let it slide, but you can already see that there's a lot of tension in regards to the interactions that Batman has with the police. So that's the general synopsis of the story. We come to find out that the killer in question is none other than the Riddler, and we'll get into my takeaway for this version of the Riddler a little bit later on. But with that being the premise, there's a whole lot of tie-in threads that connect it to other people and other plot points. And this is where I would say my general, not issue, but my problem with the film was. It was trying to do too many things at once. And some elements worked, some elements not so much. And then we come into the runtime. Lord Jesus, the runtime. It was so long. It was 3 hours. Well, technically 2 hours, 58 minutes, but damn it, them minutes started ticking slowly after a certain point. Because the funny thing is, I've been to long movies. Case in point, Avengers, long. Even the Zack Snyder Justice League, that's 4 hours long. And with that movie, I was never counting the minutes at any point. It just kept on going. It had highs, it had lows, but it kept me engaged. This film kept me engaged until like the 2 hour and 15 minute mark. And then I was like, okay, cool. When is this now beginning to wrap up? Because a lot of stuff is happening here, but I don't really feel like a lot of stuff is happening here. One thing which I will say, when it came to the acting, superb acting by everyone involved. I think Commissioner Gordon was on point. Selina Kyle, her storyline is very different to what a lot of people might know. And if you're a comic book fan, or if you kind of know Selina's mythos, it's not really in line with any of that, but all about her just being a master thief and her dynamic and interaction with the Batman. So for that part, they got down. Zoe Kravitz, she did her thing, but I felt like her storyline or why they needed her in the movie was a little bit weak. Like I said, she still did her thing. The Penguin, the man that stole the show for me. And the funniest thing is, he wasn't even in as many scenes as the trailers made it appear. So when watching the film, he's in it, but he's not in a lot of the scenes. One thing which I will say is he eats up every scene that he's in. Honestly, Penguin, if you made him like not the main bad guy, but alongside the Riddler, that would have just been aces. He does what he does, and he's very captivating. Like, every time I see him, he was actually doing stuff. And he's actually like the only person that gives the film a little bit of humor. but it's not like tacked on or forced. It's literally like he's actually just a funny character. Then we have Falcone, which actually I was quite surprised that he's actually even in this film, because that's one thing which I will say, like, he was in no promo, he was in no posters or nothing. Like, he just was like a nice little addition that they snuck in there. And in today's age, that's quite hard to do. Gotham just looked dingy, but in a good way, because Gotham is meant to be a place of high crime, corruption, all of that stuff. And that's what this city felt like. That's the one thing which I will say. This is, to me, the most vibrant version of Gotham which we've seen in films. We've seen Gotham before, but this Gotham actually felt lived in. Those were like my positives from the film. Oh, one last positive I'll give it. I think visually, I can understand why people say that this is what you would call a quote-unquote cinematic masterpiece, or it's world-class filmmaking, because that's what it is. To visually look at it, every shot, every scene, the angles, amazing, like visually spectacular. Matt Reeves did his thing, especially due to the fact that it was plagued with so much issues due to COVID and having restrictions put on it. You would never know watching this film. So I take my hat off to them. Did I love this film? I did not. And the reason why I didn't love this film is based off, I think Zack Snyder kind of spoiled me. I think before Ben Affleck and Batfleck, as we call him, we never really got an interpretation of Batman on the big screen that kind of matched what we saw either in the comics or in the animated universe. Until Zack Snyder came along and he gave us Batfleck, and more importantly, the warehouse scene. I didn't feel like this was Batman in this film. And I know, people can come and say, oh, he's a younger Batman. He hasn't developed all the skills that he has later on. Fuck that. I ain't trying to hear that shit. The reason why I say this is, regardless of him being the younger Batman, Batman should have the skills to where he is imposing. Now, I'm not saying he has to be perfect, but when I see him move and when I see him fight, he has to be physically impressive. And in this film, the choreography was lazy. It was very clumsy. It didn't look clean. It didn't look smooth. Even if you're trying to go for his more of a brawler type, I never felt like he was a brawler. And that's where my issue was. I'm not even going to talk about the fact he's not even a ninja. He has no stealth in this film. His stealth abilities is like 2 at best. His intelligence is definitely up there. His detective work, quite good. He is definitely one of the smartest, if not the smartest person in the room. Just didn't feel like Batman to me. And we won't even talk about the Bruce Wayne persona, because in this film, Bruce Wayne does not exist. He literally is just Batman 24/7. And yes, I did like something which they did with Bruce, like how he's been Batman for so long. He's developed a lot of nocturnal habits, and how his eyes are even sensitive to light because he doesn't go out during the daytime anymore. How like his days have all blended in together, so he has to kind of write and scribble the stuff down in a diary. I liked all the little nuances and small bits that they put through the film, and I can appreciate that. But at the same time, I want to feel like I'm watching Batman. I get we're trying to make him realistic and more grounded, but that's not what I go for Batman for. I go for Batman to see a man do things that aren't physically possible, but still be kind of believable. In this film, it's kind of like a cross player that knows Batman exists in the comics, and he's now decided to make a Batman costume, and he's now just fighting crime. That's what it just felt like to me. And can I just say, this has to be the poorest Batman there is, because besides his contact lenses that are able to record, and even the recording there is kind of dodge. It's not like HD quality. It's like some weird infrared red tint kind of thing to it. He is poor, like in terms of his gadgetry. He doesn't have any gadgets. Maybe I'm in the minority here. I'm not a fan of the Batsuit. I like the Batmobile, but I'm not a fan of the Batsuit. I just feel like it's out of place in this world. It holds no tactical function. I feel like in today's age, the Batsuit that we should be getting should be something more akin to the Arkham series, where the suit is designed for combat, but it's modern technology. And I feel like that's what Batman's suit should be, because this suit is freaking bulletproof like hell. This definitely has to be one of the most durable bat suits that Batman has ever had. But it just looks so bulky. And that ties into another thing. Every time Batman comes, he always has like these massive footsteps. And I get it. It's meant to kind of instill the fear element, because even like in the beginning of the movie, when they turn on the makeshift bat sign, and throughout the city, everyone who's a part of the criminal underworld, when they see the sign and they're doing their illegal activities, they all get scared and they start to look around and they look into the shadows because they feel that Batman will come out of them. I like the element. But then it cuts to a scene where he does turn up for a certain gang that is trying to rob a man in a subway, right? And before you even see Batman, you hear his footsteps. The first time, I thought, okay, I get it, because this is meant to be our first introduction to him. You're trying to build up that suspense. It worked. But it keeps on happening. We keep on hearing his footsteps. And I'm just thinking to myself, Batman is a ninja. Like, what's going on here? This is the king of stealth. Why am I hearing this man's footsteps? Like, why is he sounding so clunky? Robert as Bruce Wayne, nah. Batman, yeah. But his emo Bruce Wayne, I was not feeling it. The fact that he leaves, like, his mascara on, because we all know that every actor that's played Batman, you have to put black mascara around your eyes when you wear the cowl. This version of Batman, even when he takes the car off, you still see the mascara. Yeah, it just added more like to the emo look, which I wasn't really that big a fan of. Was a good film overall. It wasn't great. I feel like this film should have been what Winter Soldier was for Captain America. Because what they did with Winter Soldier is they took the spy genre and then they mixed it into a superhero movie. Same thing with this movie. What they did is they took a detective noir story and then they tied it into a Batman movie, which is good because, again, he is a detective. That was his origin. But I feel like where they kind of fell short is they took away a bit of like the magic of what makes Batman Batman. In them trying to go for hyper realism in certain aspects, it just fell short for me. And we won't even get into the Riddler. To me, I feel the Riddler was the worst part in this whole film for me, because he didn't really feel like the Riddler, if I'm being honest. He kind of felt like a cheap version of the Joker. I feel like he's a character that was modeled after Heath Ledger's Joker, but then he's just nerdy. That's how I felt. And he actually doesn't even get caught by Batman in the end. He literally just turns himself in. And like, there's like a scene where him and Batman are kind of talking during like an interrogation. During their interrogation, or in the interrogation room, Riddler basically is saying that Bruce Wayne. The audience, like Batman, thinks that the Riddler has discovered Bruce Wayne's identity. If you see the look on Batman's face, he was so scared. He couldn't even look him in the eye because he was just thinking, oh shit, the jig's up. They found out who I am. Damn. When he carries on like with his little monologue, we discover that that's not the case. And the way Batman gets his confidence back, and now he's even going to approach the glass to engage in conversation with Riddler. I was just like, yeah, this Riddler ain't it. Honestly, I felt like they were trying to mimic Heath Ledger's Joker, but then just give it a little bit of a spin and you have Riddler. And for me, I wasn't really too impressed with it. They could have done a little bit more with the whole storyline, because this film is based in part on the Long Halloween and Batman Year One and some other elements. I feel for me, even a bit of like the Telltale games was incorporated into it. So yeah, I felt like it could have been made a little bit shorter, 100%. You could cut this movie down to easily 2 hours 30 minutes, even 2 hours 20 minutes. It will just make the film better, because a lot of stuff in there, it didn't have to be in there. A lot of the Selena storyline, that didn't have to be in there. They kind of forgot themselves that this story was meant to involve Riddler. And they're like, oh shit, we're running out of time. Let's just wrap it up, because by the third act, we've literally gone through the highs and lows that you think it's done, until you remember that, oh wait, what happened to Riddler again? Oh yeah. Let's go back and let's tie that up with a bow. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I really wanted to go in there and give it, like, I really wanted to love this film, because again, I am a big fan of DC. DC for me shaped a lot of my childhood along with Marvel. Like, I'm not an either or kind of person. Like, I mess with both of them. I want them all to win, because when it comes to like my characters or like my favorite superheroes, it's Superman first, Spider-Man second, Batman third. I really wanted to go in here and to love this movie, but I could not. I liked it, but yeah, certain things for me just didn't work. Please let me know what you thought of the film, whether you loved it, whether you hated it, whether you're in the middle. Go off in the comment sections, and please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.